What is Bitcoin? And what can I use it for? And should I invest in Bitcoin right now? Well, in this video I will go for all of these topics, and at the end I will tell you my personal opinion if you should invest in Bitcoin right now. Let's check it out. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. My name is Wietse Kuilboer, and in today's video I'm gonna talk about if you should invest in Bitcoin or not. Let's start with what is Bitcoin exactly. To explain Bitcoin, it can be very difficult. I will try to keep my explanation here as basic as possible. Bitcoin is the first type of a cryptocurrency, a digital currency. That means that there is no physical Bitcoins like a coin or a note. There are only balances and a public ledger that keeps track of all the Bitcoins and transactions. And all the Bitcoins are verified by people that are called miners, and they use massive amounts of computing power to make the calculations to make sure that all the Bitcoins are verified. And Bitcoin was created in 2009 by a mysterious guy called Satoshi Nakamoto, and nobody knows who this person is even until today. Bitcoin was created to offer lower transaction fees than traditional online payments, and unlike government issued currency, Bitcoin is decentralized. That means that there's not one person or institution who has control over the currency, but the network has control over the currency. And the big difference between normal currency and Bitcoin is that with Bitcoin you have a limited amount of Bitcoin available, and the highest number of Bitcoins there will ever be is 21 million. If you compare it with the Fed or with the ECB, there's a big difference. They control our monetary policy, and what they have been doing over the last decades, but especially the last few years, is printing money like crazy. And what they want to achieve is to keep a steady inflation. And inflation means that your money is getting worth less. So every time they print another billion of dollars or another billion of euros, the euros or the dollars that you own will become worth less and less. And right now there's big concerns about this money printing system, and people think hyperinflation can arise if it keeps going like this. And something you really don't want is hyperinflation. Look for example at Venezuela. There was so much debt that they just kept making more and more money, but the money that they had was becoming less and less valuable. And at some point it was even cheaper to use your money as a wipe than to buy actual toilet paper, because the money became so invaluable. With Bitcoin this is not possible, because you have a maximum amount of 21 million Bitcoin. Probably the opposite will happen. Instead of inflation you will have deflation, because basic economy lesson here: when the supply stays the same and the demand rises, the price will go up as well. Life lessons by Professor Kuilboer. So what can you use Bitcoin for? Right now Bitcoin is mainly a speculative investing category, and people compare it a lots of times with digital gold. Originally Bitcoin was planned to be used as online transaction tool, but, and I will go over this later in the video, the transaction fees are really high, so it's not really possible to use it as that right now. And like gold, it's really difficult to pay with it, but the value over time will stay the same or even go up. But there are some things that you can do with Bitcoin nowadays. For example, PayPal started accepting payments with Bitcoin. Another big company that accepted Bitcoin as well is Microsoft. And you can even order food with Bitcoin. In the Netherlands you have Thuisbezorgd, that's a daughter company of Just Eat Takeaway, and you can pay with Bitcoin. And more businesses are starting to accept Bitcoin as a payment. Lately Tesla announced that in the future they will also accept payments in Bitcoin. And I will leave a link down below with a website where you can check if your website offers Bitcoin payments as well. So is Bitcoin used a lot already, and is the amount growing? Well, for this I will go over to my screen recording to show you guys some statistics. The price increase has been crazy, and if we look at the fundamentals, there's not much that has changed, especially if we compare with 2017, end of 2017. 2017 when Bitcoin hit their all-time high with around 20,000 per coin. So if we start with unique addresses used, total number of unique addresses used on the blockchain, we can see obviously 2009 it was very low. It was around 100, 200 addresses, and then obviously it went kind of fast here, really fast growth, so very good. This kind of stuff can maybe justify why it went up so much. And here you can see the big spike at almost 1 million in end of 2017, and then after the crash a big drop. More than half of all the addresses were basically not used anymore. Beginning of 2020 to right now, okay, we do see an increase. It's almost back to 1,800,000 unique addresses, but it's still lower than it was at the end of 2017. And like I said in the beginning, Bitcoin was created with the thought of making online payments cheaper and fast and easy, but it's not really doing anything of those things, because if we look at the amount of transactions per second, it has basically been stable since 2016. As you can see here, 2016 it was around 2-3 transactions per second. The end of 2017 it was around 6, okay, went down a lot, 1-2 transactions, and right now we are at 4-5 transactions per second. That maybe sounds like a lot to some of you, but it really is not. If Bitcoin really is gonna be the global currency that people will use to do their online payments, it has to grow with at least a factor of 300 and possibly even more. Let's look at the next graph, confirmed transactions per day. Again, we can see here 2009, basically nothing, right? Really low amount. And we see the same growth as we saw with the first chart of addresses used. Here you can say, okay, end of 2017, this growth looks a lot like the chart of Bitcoin. So it maybe can make sense. It maybe justifies it. Okay, we see a big drop, and again it goes up a little, and right now where are we at? 300,000. At the peak here we were at 360,000 transactions per day. So within 3 years, what has changed? Basically nothing. It's almost the same amount of transactions per day as in the end of 2017. There is no growth. Look here, it went from 100, 200 to 360,000. Okay, that's a big growth, you know, but it didn't go further there. It just stayed. It even went down. And then the last one I want to go over is fees per transaction. Like I said, Bitcoin was going to be cheaper than other online payment tools, but that's just not the case. It's really, really expensive to do Bitcoin transactions. As you can see here, it's a perfect example of supply and demand. Once again, $32 per transaction. Can you imagine that you buy something online, maybe you order a pizza, and then you have to pay $32, not for the pizza, just to pay for the pizza? That's insane. That's like triple the price of the pizza probably. And then okay, it went down, the demand went down a lot, okay, €2, $2, $1, okay, quite reasonable. But now, since we see the increase in demand for Bitcoin, it goes up like crazy again, and we're only doing what, 300,000 transactions. And if we compare this to one of the biggest credit card companies in the world, Visa, they can do 5,000 transactions per second. Do you remember Bitcoin, how much transactions per second? Around 3 or 4. The credit cards can do 5,000. That's 1,000 times more. And if we look at credit card transactions in the US, they do more than 108 million per day. That's almost 300, 400 times more than Bitcoin all over the world. This is just in the US. That's crazy. So this is my biggest problem with the Bitcoin price right now. Like I said, I'm not saying it's not gonna go up anymore. I'm not saying it's gonna go down right away. But if you look at the fundamentals behind Bitcoin, how much is it used? How high are the transactions and all those things? How many users? It's just down since the peak of 2017, and then the price was 20,000. We're 3 times higher than that right now. I'm not saying it can go. Maybe it will go even to 100,000. I don't know. No one knows. But clearly something is wrong with the fundamentals here. So with all this information, should I invest in Bitcoin? Well, first of all, it depends what your risk tolerance is. Because are you comfortable with the feeling that you can lose 90% of your investment in just a few months? Not that long ago, Bitcoin was trading for $4,000, and right now it's almost $60,000. That's an increase of 15 times in over what, a few months? And easy comes, easy goes. And if we look at the Bitcoin chart from the start, you can see it has been a rocky road. It hasn't been a smooth line up. It has been going up and down like crazy. My girlfriend tried to help me draw the graph here. As you can see, it started off relatively slow if you compare it with how it is right now. But even here, there were big ups and downs and big crashes and big pluses, but it wasn't so mainstream yet, so there wasn't really much media talking about it. And as you can see here, in the end of 2017, it peaked at around $20,000 per Bitcoin, and everybody was going crazy. Even me, I was invested in Bitcoin maybe here, and then it went down a lot to like $3,000 or $4,000. As you can see here, it went up a little bit, and it kept going like up and down. So it went kind of stable for a while between like 2018 and 2020, and now something crazy happened. If you see here, it went up like almost straight up. There were some corrections, but it went basically straight up to $60,000 per Bitcoin. And history tends to repeat itself. So if we look at this crazy increase from 3 or 4 months ago to now, what has fundamentally changed? Of course, there were some changes, like for example, Elon Musk bought with Tesla for $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. Some other companies followed his lead and also bought some Bitcoin to have in their balances. But if we look at the amount of transactions per day or the amount of active users of Bitcoin, not much has changed since 2017. Of course, it's getting more and more legit and more people talking about it. Even companies are buying it, big companies are accepting payment, but it still has a long way to go. And right now, the recent increase of Bitcoin really makes me think back at 2017, because before that, basically no one was talking about Bitcoin. And then when it started rising, more and more media started talking about it, and then people followed, because when things go up like Bitcoin, everybody wants to profit from it. And this also happened in 2017, and I was guilty of it myself. I bought in at 12 or 13,000, so it went up, but eventually it came down really fast. And right now everybody is talking about it. And basically the same thing happened, because here in this phase after the crash and here going pretty sideways for a few years, nobody was really talking about it. And now, ever since we have this crazy increase, everybody is talking about it. There are weekly updates, daily updates even. They hire crypto experts to talk about it, and everybody wants to buy Bitcoin again. So this really reminds me of the situation in 2017, just before the bubble burst. So I think right now, investing in Bitcoin for $60,000 per Bitcoin is maybe not the best idea. Of course, if you have been purchasing Bitcoin over time using the DCA method, the dollar cost averaging method, it could be okay to buy, because with the dollar cost average method, you buy every month or every amount of time the same amount. So then it's okay, because you were already buying it for a long time. Sometimes you buy when it's low, sometimes when it's high. Or if you have no exposure at all in cryptocurrency and you just want to add this in your portfolio, go ahead. But I would strongly advise you to not put more than 5% of your total net worth in this risky investment category. And of course, I understand that a lot of people want to invest in this right now because the returns are crazy. But like always, with big returns come big risks. And I think right now, everyone is already talking about it. And if you just now show up to the party, you're probably gonna be too late. And yes, maybe it will go up in the short term a little bit, but I really expect there will be a big correction of the Bitcoin price, and if you invested right now, you will probably lose some money. And all of this doesn't mean that I don't think Bitcoin has the potential to go even higher in the future, but in the short term, I really think there's gonna be a big correction. And of course, I'm just a simple guy on YouTube talking about his opinions. I'm not a financial advisor, definitely not a crypto expert, but this is my humble opinion, and you can do with it whatever you want, of course. And make sure you do your research when you want to invest in Bitcoin. And in the future, I will also make a video on where you can buy Bitcoin. There are many different brokers or exchanges that offer you to buy. But there's a big difference between the fees that they charge. So if you want to invest in Bitcoin, make sure you use the best platform there is, meaning you have to pay the least amount of fees, and also that your wallet and everything is protected well. Personally, I invested 100 euros in Bitcoin when it was worth around $10,000 per Bitcoin, so it's now around 600 euros. And I'm not gonna add on to this in the near future, but maybe when a correction comes, I will buy some more of it. And I'm really curious to know what you are doing with Bitcoin right now. Are you investing more in Bitcoin? Are you holding Bitcoin, or are you selling your Bitcoin? Let me know in the comment sections down below. And if you like this video, please don't forget to smash that like button. And if you want to see more of this type of content, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching. I hope I see you in the next one. Have a great day.